Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
hello. Here we are. Here we are on the back end of this season.
Mm-hmm.
And of
Derriere.
Tom. Oh, no, not the backside of the season. And we are still in the season of discussing all the things Tom wished younger Tom knew.
Yeah.
And he had a whole season worth of desires. So, Tom, give us your pitch.
So, like when I was young, I'd always heard, goals are what you work towards so that you can achieve them. And it was very straight line oriented of you make the goal and you just keep pegging away till you get to that, that plan. And then, I became an adult and I had to live in the adult world. And I found out that, I can't remember what the phrase is, but it ends with of mice and men. The plans of mice and men often go astray. Of
the best laid plans of mice and men.
Yeah. Of goals are useful, but that's not what luck and success actually look like. To actually be successful is to be ready to change plans and goals to, just when you see opportunity. Of these very strict concept of, goals being like treasure maps of, I'm going to set all of these little things out and then I will get to the treasure at the end is, very childish, view of the world. And I've since found like the plans that have worked out best are the ones that had a lot of wiggle space in there. And I just enjoyed working towards them to begin with. So even if that goal wasn't met, I had a lot of fun along the way. I learned new skills. I maybe picked up some new friends of, the whole lesson in most adventure stories of goals are great, a great way to orient yourself, but great goals are ones that the entire process was what you wanted to enjoy doing. Like instead of becoming a great sculptor, if you just like making things and so everything you made was really fun as you got better skills at it, ends up being better for you. Then, I want to be able to sell my sculptures, for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Of like that actually relies on a lot of other extrinsic possibilities that you have no control over.
There's a difference between goals and dreams.
Yes. And so essentially I wanted to go over the many ways to get around what I just always thought of as the problem with the wish and Dijin. Of a lot of goals people state are a lot like wishes and dreams. Of they're a great end effect, but they in no way tackle how do you get there and all the other things that have to come together to enable it.
Like one of my goals, like one of my dreams is to like get paid a bunch of money for a story. My goal is to submit stories because I have no say over is it accepted or not. So I just got to build up my skills and push myself to research what places pay and actually do the here's my story, read it part. The rest is up to them.
Like Maggie's point of learning flexibility and goals took me decades to accept as okay.
Hmm.
And Eva's is, my goal is to earn a livable income with my writing, and that's a 10-year goal though. It's it's something to work towards, but in the meantime, you are working on, it's kind of like a toddler, or really before a toddler, working on, getting to walk and move around. They first do all of those squats. Oh, baby squats. So many. And you have to partly set your goal as those intermediary steps. In part, so you don't get, we talked, I don't remember, it was this season or some other show where we had talked about dopamine. And I realized I kind of misstated, you don't actually get dopamine for accomplishing a goal. You get dopamine for working towards a goal you are sure is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So like Laura's of, she has a want and a dream, which is, to get paid very well for her writing. That's the dream. But her actual checkbox on doing this, that her brain says this is the dopamine reward for, is submitting it to different groups. And that is achievable, and that is repeatedly achievable. And so it's easy to keep doing it.
Yeah. Like for my bullet journal, I have spreads where I'll say, okay, these are all the open submissions that close this month that I would like to submit to. And then I will have check boxes for, have I drafted it? Have I edited it? Have I gotten beta reader feedback for it? Have I re-edited it? And have I submitted it? So I have multiple check boxes for each one. So it's lots of sub goals for the big goal.
Mm-hmm. And part of what made me think about it, this was getting on, I don't know what they're calling now, but I just dating sites, like Hinge, OkCupid, all those. And realizing that it's also a great way to discuss burnout. Because if you go on a dating site and the only thing you're checking is, did you get a date from this site? We know the statistics, and that is, very far off. So it will very quickly burn you out just going through all these profiles and trying to communicate and line all this up. And so if your goal isn't going to be checked till the very end, most people will burn out before they reach that goal. Versus if your goal is to always have an interesting opener and to get a response from people, that's more achievable. To do this so many times per week is a lot more achievable and will get you towards that end goal. But I think it's also, we often forget to make sub goals for our dreams and wants. Of, so Laura's very much, really gotten that well for planned out correctly for her writing, which while the dream is, well paid, in the meantime, it's, I want to get really good at writing these type of stories. I want other people to give me feedback that they also enjoy these stories and are writing. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to submit and see it get accepted and published in this much. I want to figure out if that's not happening, why? Is it me, or is it something I can't, address? And that's sort of constantly readapting your current goals to better reach your further goals. Because, again, the same thing I see with so many teenagers going into college of, if you want something that makes adults laugh, it's hearing teenagers talk about how they're going to go to college for 4 years and then go get a really well-paying job right out of college. And it's just oh, honey, the college degree is just, step one towards this. Yeah. There's so many more things before you get there.
Right.
One system of setting goals that works for a lot of people is called a Kanban board, where you have a lot of people do it quarterly, some people do it monthly. So every 3 months or every 1 month, you will have your board. Like I had it for the back of my door. Some people just have it on a page in a notebook. But you have sticky notes where you have broken down your 3 main goals into all these little sub goals on sticky notes that you can move from want to do to working on to completed. So you keep making progress in all the little things to get the big overall goal done.
Yeah, I think Laura used to have one of those, didn't you?
I couldn't afford a board, so I literally just masked out a board with washi tape on the back of my door.
And that is what super sticky notes are for.
Exactly.
Oh, thank God! Whoever figured out
on their back of the mirror.
Some people will do it on the cardboard part of the back of their spiral bound notebook.
I like Eva's way she's divided this. I figure 30 books and editing should do it. Yeah. Yeah, they just kind of we found is, somewhere around 20 to 30 books of a writer starts to bring in some income that you can actually start to live on. But he did say, yeah, you got to make a lot of books. Like, it's a fun spreadsheet.
It is.
But I found one of the things of really growing up, part of really becoming an adult, is figuring out that what we are often told, come up with as kids as goals is what we call, as adults, 10-year goals or 20-year goals it'll be great if it happens sooner, but I figure it's going to take at least this long just to get everything moving in that direction to achieve that. And, we expect, kids kind of expect and want, in part just because they're so young, so they've never experienced that kind of wait time either. It takes a while to really reach big ideas. And the way you reach them sooner is if you have a lot of other people helping you along the way to give their time and effort towards it as well.
So at the video store, part of our goals were just to be solvent. Just to essentially the video store to pay its own bills. And there was to pay its current bills versus to pay all of its bills, which included paying me. And one very dark Sunday, I figured out how much money that is total, and then how many new movie rentals that would be. So at the time that I figured this out, in the first few months of the video store, we were averaging, I think, about 400 rentals a month, about 100 rentals a week. And we needed 1,200 rentals a month to be solvent, which seemed like an insurmountable goal. And I was bummed. I'll be honest. At the time, I was in my early 20s, in my defense, and I was bummed a bit. And several employees asked me, "Are you okay?" And I each time was honest with them and explained what happened. And they all individually, they did not know about what other employees had requested, but every employee said the same thing. Why don't you make a chart or something and put it up so we can keep our eye on it month to month? And also that way you'll see that we are growing as a company and you'll see that growth. So I did as requested. And the video store was so tiny, y'all. It was, imagine the smallest trailer and then have that. It was like slightly larger than a camper trailer inside. It was so tiny. And so there really wasn't any private space. So where I put it up was on the side of one of our file cabinets that we used to keep movies in as part of our storage system. So when people checked out a movie, particularly the adult movies, we'd pull the file cabinet drawer out and find that one and so on. And so I just put it on the side, which all the employees could see from the one clerk station. And they could see it, but also all the customers could see that. And it was labeled and it was highlighted. And there was a monthly goal, and there was the yearly progress. I had made just a simple chart of that. And each month I updated, each week I actually, I would just manually update the rentals one with a highlighter, truthfully. Like I just literally just roll my chair over and highlight it and color it in. And so they could see week to week how we were progressing. And then month to month, I would just print out a new chart. And the crazy part, I did not realize for the first, 8-9 months of doing this was that customers were keeping track. And if anything, they started renting more new movies, trying to edge that number up because they appreciated us. And I didn't realize it because it's not something that they really said much, but we were a little tiny video store out in the middle of the countryside. And while people don't live real close together in the country, there's still community. And people very much appreciate not having to drive 25 minutes into town to go rent a movie at Blockbuster. And they also appreciated that we also weren't the other video store company in the area. The one, oh my God, those people were aggressive.
Psychotic.
Yeah. They would leave really unhinged messages on your answering machine if you were even 2 hours late returning a movie. And we did not. We were like, you pay for it. That's
on
all.
your work.
On your work.
Yeah.
At your work answer machine. And they would list what movies you'd rented on the message. Yeah. Just real stuff. And we didn't do any of that. Like if we did leave you a message, we left you a message where you said for us to leave a message. And we simply said, hi, you have movies that are overdue. They're a day overdue. We'd really like them returned. If you have any questions about which movies, please give us a call and we'd list the number because, we never knew who was listening to the answering machine because kids get home, whatever. And so you'd call and ask which movies you were looking for. Because I genuinely believe privacy should be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so controversial in that one. But yeah, people appreciated our style. Overall, most people. Obviously, some people did not appreciate us, but many people did. And what I didn't realize is our regulars, were keeping track of those statistics that I would put on there and eventually, over the years, more statistics ended up being on there, like our overall sales and our concession stand sales. So the sodas and the snacks and things, as well as the used book sales. Y'all, we literally sold used books for 50 cents to $1. Okay, so what was the difference? It was the size. If the paperback was more than an inch thick, it was $1. If it was an inch or less, it was 50 cents. That was how we priced. So The Godfather was $1. And most sci-fi was 50 cents. Most 300-page sci-fi was an inch. If it was an inch and an eighth, I'm like, it's a 50 cents. Who cares? And like, so obviously we were not making much money from the used book sales. And honestly, there back then, at least, there wasn't much profit in concession sales. But people asked us to carry, like microwave popcorn and soda and candies. They especially wanted the movie theater style candy boxes and things because there really wasn't anywhere to out in the country to buy these things. So again, you'd have to drive all the way in to go to Walmart. And that was 25, 30, 35-minute drive minimum each way. And that eats up a lot of gas money when you're just trying to have a nice little movie night. And as several customers tried to pitch to me of, yes, it's more than we could buy at Walmart, but we're saving money overall by not having to drive in. It's not taking an hour round trip or more. So we're willing to pay a little extra for you to carry it. Please, would you? So we carried all these things, but it was kind of hard to keep the profit margin, especially with mice. God.
Asshole field mice.
They have such strong teeth. Anyway.
I want a soda. I'll be back.
Okay. So we would eventually end up within 2.5 years, had all those analytics on that file cabinet so people could keep track.
Froze.
One sec. All right, give her a sec. It looks like her internet froze up. Just gonna try to refresh her laptop.
Should I go over the ever well-known SMART acronym for goals?
Why not?
Okay, so the most popular acronym for goal setting is SMART. SMART. So it is, what was S? Is it simple? Let me double check. It's measurable, time bound, all that stuff. Specific, there we go. Okay, specific goals, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So don't have a goal to, like I said earlier, a general goal just to make a lot of money. Have a specific goal that is like you can check it off. It's not some amalgamous like, what is that really? I don't know. Make it a specific goal. Make it measurable so that you can see when you've actually attained it. So like hours spent writing or word count or books published or whatever. Achievable, something that is actually within your power to do. Relevant, so something that you actually want to achieve. It's still relevant to your life, something that you want to sink your time into. Time bound, so something that you give yourself so much time to do each thing to check your goal off. So that's the SMART goal.
And I mean, it does cover I think it as the sins of goals, which is also, something Gloria and I definitely learned while we were running the video store of the sins of business, which is if you can't figure out a way to measure it, people won't really value it.
Like
there's no
morale.
way to tell how it changed. Yeah.
This is the problem with human beings. If you can't measure it, it's not valuable. It's not valued. So if you don't have if the entity, and I mean that like as a government or a corporation or whatever, you are not measuring something, then you cannot value it. So we're talking about like employee satisfaction or citizen happiness or whatever. These are not ephemeral ideas. They are measurable. But if you are not measuring it, obviously that entity does not value it. So for instance, if like, okay, this channel, for the most part, our audience are neurodivergent writers or people who wish to be writers. So as a writer, I'm going to say it. If you are not measuring the amount of time you are spending on these goals, then you don't value your own time.
Dang it!
Yeah, I know. I was like, I know this hurts. I know, but here's the problem. Whatever you're not measuring, you are not valuing. All human beings are like this. This is how all humans are hardwired. We only measure what we value. If you are not keeping track of your time spent on this project, you do not value it. So whether you're consciously aware of it or not, there we go. If you value your time, then you're going to start keeping track of your time. How much time are you investing in this goal of, I don't know, for instance, publishing a novel? I'm going to tell you this right now. It's going to take way longer than you think it is. And I'm not trying to talk anybody out.
Yourself.
Well, I'm not trying to talk anybody out of novel writing, but it's just simply most humans are going to set a goal they think is achievable, and their idea of what is achievable is relatively short distance. So, it'll only take me 2,000 hours to write a novel. Spoiler, 4.5 years later, like.
I think one of the biggest things to keep in mind with the achievable aspect is putting, like, beforehand, accounting for sick days, for low mental spoons days, for chronic illness days. Like, factor those in with the achievability part.
And so set them back. Look, there's nothing wrong with overachieving.
No.
If it the world allows.
That is okay. But also,
and here's another part of that.
Overachieving is a dream, not necessarily a reality, and that is okay.
Also, here's something else we know that has been measured, and for the most part, unless you are a very, very neurodivergent person, will hold true about you as a human, as an adult human. You have 3 to 4 hours per day of major creativity, of coming up with original concepts. That is how much time and effort you have
of problem solving. Okay.
Of problem solving, yeah.
Like, so when we're talking about creativity, okay, let's be honest. What are we really talking about here? Because we need to be brutally honest. Real creativity is where you are crossing over the corpus callosum to both hemispheres constantly for a sustained amount of time. And when I say sustained, I mean more than, say, 60 seconds. Real creativity is that. And there is only, most humans only have 2 to 4 hours within a 24-hour cycle of stamina to do this, because it takes an incredible amount of energy and glucose in your blood to do that. You're firing off so much of both hemispheres of your brain and the middle section that connects it. You're using up so much energy. It is physically exhausting. Have you ever written for say an hour and a half, where you're just writing pretty much nonstop the whole time, and then after that you just lay there? You're just exhausted, as if you were digging ditches. You are exhausted. Or say taking a very important standardized test, where afterwards you're like, I don't even know how to unzip my pants. I'm so tired. What is happening? All right, maybe it's just me. But I really did.
The GRE was rough.
I really did. No, it was the SAT I took in 7th grade. the college SAT that I took in 7th grade for the Duke University program. I finished that test. I went to the bathroom and I stood there in the stall for 3 minutes trying to remember how to unzip my blue jeans.
Okay.
Really?
All right. Real quick, though, I do want to address what I'm seeing. And again, there's a little bit of confusion. Like Eva saying, luckily, I don't need creativity or problem solving for all my tasks. So many tedious steps in writing. And spends his 2 to 4 hours either really high from my perspective, or I'm incredibly underselling the BS I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, this is important conversation.
And so it's, when we say creativity, we are talking about novel solutions. So Gloria and I joke about, as neurodivergence, the phrase that pays of, we know that if we say this line, almost everyone we meet in our area will understand what we mean and respond in this way. So we don't have to come up with a novel way to communicate with others. We don't have to come up, and so that doesn't require creativity.
The use of cliches. Oh, around here you can say that dog won't hunt, and everyone in South Mississippi knows what we mean when if we make a conclusion of, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that dog won't hunt. They understand because we're using a cliche. Okay,
and that is what it's
not
for.
A novel communication.
And so, but the creativity is where you have to come up with a novel form of communication. And so even in writing, if you are going to write for 4 hours, that is not necessarily actually 4 hours of creative writing. That can be, like a lot of people, it takes, somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes to get into writing mode. So that is where you're kind of refreshing your memory. You're reminding yourself of what you are working towards for this chapter or something. And then you get really into writing. And that usually for most people is about a 90-minute max time frame. And then they need another break of, somewhere between 10 and 30 minutes doing other things around their task of writing. And then they might be able to do one more 60 to 90-minute creative, output. Maybe.
Not everyone can do the second one.
And
that's dependent on getting a full night's sleep and having eaten, quality meals with plenty of fruits and vegetables and quality protein for several days in a row so that your health is in good shape.
Yeah. And that is your max for the day. And then, you can clean, you can figure out, you can putter, you can figure out how to feed yourself. That does not actually require novel. It's just going over, okay, what of the foods I know how to make do I want? That's what I mean about, it's not creative output requirement.
So often dialogue, if you're writing dialogue, that is going to be novel. It's it's unique to the conversation between 2 or more characters. And presumably you're not copying dialogue from either something from yourself or anyone else.
This is within the 90% range of humans.
So again, I want to stress that the creativity that I'm talking about, it requires good health and both long-term and short-term good health. And I know I'm talking to chronically ill people. I know what I'm saying.
Please go back to the one we talked about, food and health tricks, because there were several things you can eat that aren't that expensive that will really help your health.
Including your neurology.
Especially sardines and walnuts.
Yeah. But again, talking about in order to have that amount of time of even a 90-minute window in your 24-hour day, again, that's maxed out amount. So for instance, and also I'd like to point out that for most people, they have within themselves a circadian rhythm, and they cannot be that creative during certain parts of the day. It's only usually 1 to 2 windows in their daily circadian rhythm that they find it's easiest to tap into that creating novel solutions mental zone.
Yeah, but also I want to mention editing for a lot of people doesn't require a lot of creativity. That is what you can kind of do while you're working on it, and you need a bit of downtime.
Versus for me, Editing uses all my creative time, and I have to make a decision each day. Am I going to use my creative window for unique writing, or am I going to use it for editing? Because when I am in editing mode, I am looking to solve editing problems. I am not talking about spell check editing. I am talking about fixing broken stories, fixing plot holes you could drive a Sherman tank through. That is what I am talking about. And that requires me to come up with novel solutions. So I need to be a creative.
Sydney tanks.
What?
Is it P. Sherman 42 Wildly Way Sydney tanks?
That, little red-haired one? Okay. Little ginger tanks? Okay. With their pet professor dog. So, again, it depends on the person. And it took me many years and this was actually originally, I had this brooch when I was in college. I can't remember, what was I taking? I think it might have been History 101 or 102. But a lot of students in this class were not performing well on the tests. And I'm going to just tell you now, that professor sucked ass. He was a total... Anyway, but he posited that none of us were studying during our creative point or our brains were really on each day. That we were trying to study when we were too tired or when we had just woke up and weren't fully awake, or that we were trying to study when we had not eaten quality food and so on. So he had a whole little lecture about this, and that he was saying that we all need to figure out our circadian rhythm of when we are at our, as he put it, our smartest every day. When are you at your brightest? When is the light bulb the brightest in you each day? And that it depends on each person. Not everyone's circadian rhythm is identical. And so, essentially, he did have some gems in this lecture, but for most part, I'm just telling you, this guy, I definitely did not respect him, and he did not stay at our university, and nobody shed a tear. But, yeah.
Another thing, actually, Eva's one reminded me about all of this.
So, yeah, adrenaline.
Not just adrenaline, not just the dopamine, but so another part of understanding creativity and the effort versus the time is there are many professional writers out there who write literally for 8 hours a day. But if you actually, this is about how the brain works. Mm-hmm. So creativity is having to create novel paths in the brain, connecting disparate ideas and concepts in the brain. That is why it's so exhausting, is because it takes so much energy to make these paths and make these connections. But once you've made them, you can use them again and again, and it does not take nearly the same amount of energy. So if you are, a romance writer or a sci-fi writer who has written 10, 20 books, people will definitely develop a certain expectation for your writing because you're not going to be that novel in every story. You're going to reuse concepts and tropes and cliches that you've already used. Those do not require the excessive energy and intensive thinking process of creativity to write. But your first couple stories, oh yes, they are going to take a lot. And that's why it's harder to start writing and get all of it done versus later on, you're just like, but they talk about they write as full day jobs. It's like, well, yes, but they have worked out on that. It doesn't require
created their rut.
Yes.
It takes energy to jump out of the rut.
So anyway, so back to the professor. So what he said was, you automatically probably by now in college know, are you a night owl? Are you a morning lark? Are you an afternoon delight kind of person? You know when things come easiest and when they are harder for you throughout your day cycle.
Welcome to professional writers, Eva.
Everybody knows, he was saying, by the time you're in college, you have figured out from just, an entire, school career, to take your hardest class in the morning or in the afternoon or the evening, yourself. And he was saying that's when you need to be studying for his class. Like, excuse me, sir, History 102 is not, quantum physics.
There is this large majority of writers that Eva fits within.
Yes.
There's like a real professional writers. It's the 3 a.m. time frame.
Part of the reason why many writers do find their best writing is pre-dawn is because they have families and they need uninterrupted time. And the only way to do it is to write while their family sleeps. So.
And they also know no one's going to come to disturb them. Part of the difficulty of creativity is you have to get into creative mode. And that takes most people somewhere between, as I said, there's a few people, it only takes 5 minutes. Most people, it takes between 10 to 40 minutes of working towards creative mode to get into full creative mode. And then if someone interrupts you, guess what? They've reset that clock. It's going to take you that full amount of time again. Every time it takes this long to get into that. And that's part of why you need these uninterrupted blocks of time.
And that's why your family needs to understand, not interrupt, knock on your door.
But there's a lot of writers who do 3 a.m. to 8, 9 a.m. writing for their day because they don't have to worry about anyone knocking on their door.
So again, what I'm trying to get at, when you feel smartest in the day, when you feel that your light bulb is at its brightest, that is when the creativity is easiest for you. So you. And if you don't know you, it's time to start figuring out you. Okay? But hopefully by the time you are watching this, hopefully you figured out when that is. Now, I happen to know for me personally, I'm an afternoon delight, that kind of gal. And that is why we do this show at this time of day, is because this is when my light bulb is brightest. This is when I'm problem solving. This is when I can think the clearest. And I've only got 2 to 4 hours of this. And that is, again, if you noticed, why this show is when it is on Mondays and how long it is. That is why. It's literally designed around my schedule because I was the one pitching this idea. And Tom agreed to it. Fool that he is.
Yeah, mine's always earlier in the day.
Ugh, no.
Mine's around lunchtime.
Ugh.
But yeah, again, this is what measurement around, achievable goals is noticing what works and what doesn't, and just what is achievable. Of so many problems with goals of, when you're younger is, in retrospect, they weren't achievable from the beginning because you didn't accept reality of you've only got so much free time. There's only specific points in the day when you can get that free time you need. I've definitely known a few people, especially house parents, people who, live, who didn't leave the house to do their work, who for whatever reason, were at home, whether it's taking care of kids or part-time job at home. But they actually, when they wanted to start writing, what they eventually started doing was they specifically took 2-hour naps during the day when no one was home, because they would wake up then much earlier in the morning because that's when they could do the writing. So there was no real point in trying to write in the afternoon. They just didn't, or, the lunchtime, they didn't have the mental energy. This was not the right time for that activity. So instead, they figured out how to shift things, or the schedule around, so that they could get the time when they could best do that activity. But it's, a lot of goals is also accepting who you are. We are not all identical. We do actually have a lot of similar limitations. So yes, health. This is why we talk so much about how to take care of yourself, and nutrition and rest and hydrate.
Because writers need good health, or as good as is possible, in order to right, because you're really needing to use so much of your physical and mental health to write novel stories. It's just the way it is.
Although having said all of that, I do actually enjoy sometimes just writing evenings before sleep because it will exhaust me. And it's a good way to just sort of get my brain ready to fall asleep because it's like, I can't write anymore. I'm ready to say like, all right, well, we'll lay down then. I know. Oh, to not have to have alarms. Isn't that wonderful? To get your body to work in that cycle.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. That's not something I seem to be capable of. Spoken like a real mother.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't until I had been adult for over a decade that I understood what is up with people writing in coffee shops
Or parks.
or parks. It's like, is this just so they can be seen, so they can get the extrinsic, you know, all that? And it's like, no, it's so because we associate things with locations. Human thought is very closely linked with our geospatial locations. So if you want to be different, act different, you need to be in a different location. And for many people, it is like a coffee shop where no one's really paying attention and they can be free and creative because they don't have to think about themselves.
I know several people who literally write in their car.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like in college too. Like some were college students who had loud roommates, and some were college students who had families at home, children at home. And the only place quiet they could be that, essentially was quote unquote free was in their car. So they would just sit in their car with their laptop or what have you, or notebook, and write. That's where they would write their papers. They would study. They would do everything. It's kind of fascinating. But you do what you have to do. You figure out a solution, right? You'll find a way or you'll find an excuse.
Yeah. And like for some, it's, novelties, good, but also, if you're not home, you can't do anything other than what's in front of them. Versus for others, if they're home, their brain keeps going, oh, but I could go take care of this task and I could go take care of this task. And they just can't concentrate on the creative work because there's all these other little thoughts going, but what about here? I mean, you could just take 5 minutes, where it's like, it's not gonna be 5 minutes. And that's why they have to change location it's truly to each their own. Find what works and just accept who you are. Stop trying to be anyone else.
I knew somebody who she had children between the ages of, I think at the time they were 6 to 13. And I think she had at least 3 kids. Frankly, I'm going to be honest, I lost track of how many kids. And she did her schoolwork in her car, in her driveway, and her children understood you're only allowed to come out to the car if the house is on fire or someone is bleeding from the head. Any other bleeding, the 13-year-old could take care of. And so she's like, the children would be on the second floor looking down at me, trying to get my attention, since they were not allowed to go out to the driveway and knock on her window in the car, because she'd be in the back seat, like with her papers all out, doing her work. And both front seats would be pushed forward, kind of deal. And she's like, oh, they're trying. I am refusing to look up there. Absolutely not. Because sometimes she would call me on the phone and she's like, Glory, talk me down from like acknowledging my children's existence. I knew what was happening. You do what you have to do. And as she put it, nobody knocks on your window if you're in your car in your own driveway. So versus if she was in the parking lot at a coffee shop or something, eventually the security guard will knock on the window when she's just in the back seat with all her school papers out. So again, like this is what she had to do because she was absolutely determined to become a teacher. This is what her entire life dream had been since she was a little girl, was to become a school teacher. And she was not going to let her children rail her from this. was hilarious. It's like they're not trying to derail you. They're children and they want attention. She's like, I don't care. It was hilarious. They were loved and well fed. I met them. They're fine. No malnourished, no neglected children. They were fine. But yeah, her husband was like, just ignore them. They don't deserve your attention. You're getting your degree.
Although I will say one trick, if you are someone who writes in their car and you need a place you can write without being disturbed, hospitals, hospital parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to knock on your door unless it is part of their job.
I told her that. And that's when she started parking over the hospital during the 3 weeks before finals. Again, because nobody's going to interrupt you. Because I told her I had learned this when my mother's first round of cancer. And of like, you can cry, you can scream in your car. No security guard will ever knock on the window because they don't want to deal with you. So it's great. If you just need to go, you need to sleep in your car. It doesn't matter. No security guard will ever knock on your car door if you are sleeping in your own car in the hospital parking lot. They're going to leave you alone.
Because for all they know, you're a doctor.
For all they know, somebody you know is dying inside, and this is like your only time to get rest. And this is your sleep shift, you know? So they're just going to leave you alone. It's fantastic. And so that's when she started going to the hospital parking lot to do her very important writing and studying for finals and things. You know, so her children could not derail her because they were adorable children. I told her, like, your children are super cute. This was a problem. She's like,
Jerry, you've done your job so well that you.
She said, I swear the 13-year-old is training the 6-year-old on how to be cuter. Like, why are my children evil? And I'm like, because they can see you.
Oh, you'd be surprised. So actually, this is a common behavior at hospitals of where someone will park, be there for 30 minutes to an hour, and then just leave. And it's because they were going to go visit someone and they just couldn't bring themselves to go visit them in their current situation. Of like, oh, no. Anyone who actually has worked at hospitals for any real given amount of time is familiar with they just, every day, they show up at the same time. They look at the door. And then they just do other stuff in their car for an hour.
And then they leave.
Or two, and then they leave.
Yep. You'd be surprised. There's some wild behavior in the parking lots at hospitals. You can get away with everything there. I knew somebody who took this on a dare. And she had a portable sewing machine. And she started sewing her dress or skirt on the hood, the back hood, the trunk of her car. And the security guard walked by, and she looked at the security guard, and he's like, and kept walking. Didn't ever say a word to her. She's literally sewing a hem on a skirt. He ain't saying crap. I'm just telling you, you would not believe the wild things people have witnessed in a hospital parking lot. Ain't nobody going to bother you. Give it a try. I dare you. Try it out. Let me know. Report back. We're about ready for our first little sprinty sprint. What a wonderful time to make sure you have something to drink. Or a snack. It's definitely snack time. Cannot recommend enough. It's snack time. We'll see you back here in approximately 10 minutes. What will we talk about, Tom?
I don't know. It's going to be a surprise.
It's going to be a surprise. Be prepared to be surprised. Who knows? Laura is slowly being enveloped by the darkness. So who knows what's going to happen? No promises have been made. We'll see.
No transformation has been promised, but we shall see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Stay tuned. This is the problem with being friends with your sibling, is you lose track of time chatting during the break. This is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And not the problem of your sibling during the break freaking triggering you about the same family trauma.
That would never happen.
Never happened.
Yeah, I figured sort of the.
Look at this beefy, cheesy, fantastic thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess I should put myself in the hot seat. It seems fair.
Hot food, hot seat,
Look at that. Oh, yes. I was microwaving that while Tom was talking to me and totally. I found this commercially made roast beef that is not musky or funky tasting or anything. It really just tastes delicious. And I've been very impressed with it. It's from a Lando Frost now has a upmarket brand
Bistro.
called Bistro Favorites. So, highly recommend if you can get any. It's totally worth it. I mean, I don't know about Laura, but
So I thought like the next part to talk about is now that you've kind of like made some goals and tried to make them a bit more possible.
what?
We now need to talk about, depending on the decade you grew up in, what's called either aligning your goals or gamifying your goals, which is making sure that you can constantly achieve goals that, tasks that will work toward the goal you want. Give me just a sec.
You had to close the door that Kitty'd opened.
I'm just trying to.
She is sure some games are about to happen. And so, because I was thinking about so one of the difficulties to achieve any goal is simply burnout. It is when you are working too long without seeing any noticeable difference in your progress towards a goal.
As I said, Tom has come for me and triggered me as a sibling.
And hey, Nia.
Hi.
And yes, the phrase I said that just sent Glory on a depression kitty spiral was something we've all at some point seen and had and dealt with, which is, so you have a day of fun planned with the family, and once you start on that, within an hour you are exhausted and you are ready to leave and
never see your own family members ever again.
And
you're ready to fake your own death.
Can you hear the storm outside?
Oh yeah,
I can.
Yeah.
I thought it was just somebody with a large sheet of metal
No.
flexing it.
It's not Foley artist this time.
But yes, 1 hour into the zoo trip and I'm ready to fake my own death and never speak to my own family again.
And it's because the space between changing activities is too long. And so the novelty has worn off of that initial one, and it's too long to the next thing, and you're just exhausted by continuing to tread water, figuratively, in this task of even just being around your family. And so to avoid burnout, that is where gamifying and aligning your goals is, which is making sub-goals and subtasks. And one I thought is a real easy one that Gord and I would know is, so how in the world do you clean up a house that, has spent so many years developing a patina of chaos? And,
so called out.
And Glory has achieved this, by the way. She has completely cleaned her house before.
You could not tell right now.
I know. It's been a rough many years, like, and it's a tiny house. Don't have. Jeez.
That was right outside the window.
Stay away from the windows.
I'm plugging my computer.
I love how it immediately follows with the emergency siren.
Yeah, of like, yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful, Laura.
And so it's like,
We're only 3 weeks away from Chicago. I need you to be there. Somebody has angered the Canadian Thunder gods.
hopefully
Say, what's the Canadian equivalent to Thor?
I don't know. I assume Thunderbirds?
I don't know, but that does remind me. I keep meaning to tell you, Glory. There is
Now some guy is screaming outside.
Oh, great.
Of course.
Is he screaming at the heavens in futility? Oh, fun, Laura.
Thankfully, the rain is muffling it enough that I can't tell his obscenities. What the fuck?
I hope the building's grounded.
Yeah. Surely she would know by now if the building wasn't grounded.
Who knows? Oh yeah. Also, I learned recently that there is a I don't remember if it was baseball or hockey team. I think it's a called in Nanaimo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I love what their team name is.
What is it?
Yes, more like
The Nanaimo Night Owls.
Is that when they sneak in the Nanaimo bars?
I mean, they really do need.
Hi.
And yes, Maggie. Dear Thunder Gods, please don't hurt Laura. We need her lovely travels.
Yes.
So, when Glory was finally ready to, clean up her house previously.
Bring order to the chaos I called my marriage at the time.
Yes. She started researching around and she found a few, things. She read a lot on how to clean. And what she eventually came across was a nice little, set of guides and a lot of encouragement and community to join. And then came the actual task of so how do you clean a house? And the answer is not in one big job. You're going to burn out. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to drive everyone else nuts. And you're not going to finish it.
Yep.
So how do you finish it? You make a variety of tasks that all work towards that goal that you don't mind doing, that are within a set amount of time for you to accomplish, that require no even real mental energy. It's just, okay, I can do that. I don't even need to check if I have that much time set aside. I can just do that. So that is where, Glory learned the wonderful 21 pickup of just real quick. I'm going to pick up 21 things that go into the trash, or I can quickly put a home to. And if I can't do either of those, I'm going to leave it. And you can do that as many times a day as you want, but you can also just set a goal. As we said, measurable goals of I'm going to do a 21 pickup once a day or 3 times a day. And you'll figure out, very quickly what is achievable and that's my overachieving day.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of other things. There was a 5-minute timer of a hotspot that you're just going to work on and help organize it. And after 5 minutes,
allowed to clean up that hotspot after the 5-minute timer ends.
You got to stop.
You have to stop and put it down and walk away. You have to go do other things, and whether it's sit, watch TV, do something you love to do like art, or go eat, whatever. But you have to stop that task. And there was a reason why, and it's so that you trust yourself to set boundaries and respect those boundaries. That how have you ever said to yourself, I'm just going to fold these couple clothes, and then there you are 3 hours later working on the living room. And it's this is not how I wanted to spend my day, or this is not what I wanted to do today. but you just kind of kept going down that slippery slope. That's why you're not allowed to go beyond the 5 minutes for a hot spot. Most people are familiar with the Fly Lady now. She does have a free app.
I just couldn't remember if there was something she'd become problematic for something or not, and that's
She's
why
a little bit problematic.
and that's why I wasn't mentioning names.
Most Republicans are now. Sorry. I'm sorry if you still affiliate with this political party, but if you're Republican, you know the issues I would have with it. But look, she still has an app. And a lot of her ideas worked because they're for people with ADHD. They still work. My favorite ones were her games of 21 Pickup, where you're walking around with a grocery t-shirt bag and you're just looking for 21 pieces of trash in your house, or 21 things that you can put away in their respective rooms or their shelving or whatever. I really thought that game was great. And the 5-minute hotspot. Yeah, of like, she had a point with that stuff. These tricks, and I don't even know if she necessarily came up with it or it was from some of her people in this community came up with these games, but she definitely shared them with everybody. They're good games. I highly recommend them. Give them a try. You just walk around with like a t-shirt bag looking for trash. Once you're done with 21 pieces, you tie it up, you put it in your trash can, you walk away. You did that. You could do that 1 to 3 times a day. Or you're looking around the living room maybe for 21 pieces of things that belong in your bedroom, or vice versa.
And so let's also approach, some other common things that, our viewership here will often deal with. So, so Laura's wanting to, Laura and Eva really both wanting to make a living off of their writing eventually, which means they're going to have a lot of writing, and they also need to have their writing published a bunch, or at least, figure out how to do it. So, and you break that down into a lot of little tasks, and you accept that you have ADHD and your memory is not perfect, and you're going to write it down somewhere of all the different tasks that are, especially the repeatable ones, and you're going to assign number or time values to them of how long you're going to spend on any of these, and then how much time in a day you're going to spend just working towards this goal. Because part of achieving goals and part of real success is self-efficacy and being able to trust yourself to manage your own time and effort and to not burn yourself out and to take care of yourself. So like, among those many tasks, like for Laura is, maybe have on her task list of possible things she can do whenever she has some extra time is spend 10 minutes looking for news sources of places accepting submissions, or just, which can be separate from 10 minutes spent doing a submission, or a single task of doing a submission, doing all of the reformatting required to do a submission. And these are all separate tasks, but that you can essentially just make on a board or on, on an app or a spreadsheet or anything, what all these little tasks are that will work towards that. And how much total time you want to work towards this goal per day. And that way you don't get upset of, hey, I'm not doing any time towards this goal. Obviously you are. But you don't have to worry about the getting burned out on, but all I've been doing is, submitting. And if I have to reformat this same story one more time, I'm going to write some very ugly words to the publisher. And I just don't think that's going to create more success.
Probably not.
Versus if you break it out in these little tasks that you can just pick and choose as you want.
Go get him, Roy. Protect mommy.
There's
Focus
less
on
chance
us.
of burnout. And also, you get that dopamine every time you finish one of these tasks. And that really helps keep that motivation going, because motivation, is so important. You want to do something, you need that motivation for it. Hence, how much do we joke about actors but what's my motivation?
So not only do I check something off the list, I get to color in the box and then check
Mm,
it off the list. And if its word counts, I get stickers.
Nice.
exactly. Like Maggie, I think having an achievable system is one of the best ways to reach goals. Yeah. And you're happy the entire way.
Like something I've started recently is particularly on Fridays when I'm getting ready for Friday night, I'll get out the hand vac and I'll just set the timer. And I'm literally just walking around the house for 5 minutes with the timer going, looking for something to vacuum. And I'll just vacuum the floor. I'll vacuum the sofa. I will vacuum under the stove, vacuum the oven. I'll just vacuum anything. But when the timer goes off and I put away the hand vac, I can sit there self-satisfied for a few moments knowing that there's less crud just floating, roaming in my house. And it feels good, y'all. Be sure to give yourself those moments where you just feel the dopamine coursing through your blood. Like, yeah, I earned this dopamine. It's mine. I have achieved a thing. That matters, to take that moment and let yourself feel it. It literally matters, because then you will better associate achieving your little baby goals, your little baby steps, with doing the work. Like 5 minutes of hand vacuuming, even 5 minutes a day, you're not going to see a big difference even in a week, but you will see a big difference in several months. But you're going to be forever before you can look back and go, yes, I have done this. You need to feel good about your effort now if you're going to keep doing it. And that's what's important, is to take that moment and appreciate that you did it and that you respected the boundaries you set for yourself. I.e., for me, like, I'll set 5 minutes on a kitchen timer. And then I put the hand back away when it goes off, even if I'm in the middle of vacuuming around the deep freeze. Because why does crud build up everywhere in this house?
And again, but you really do have to build, because that self-efficacy is being able to trust yourself. That's really what it's about, is you trust yourself to take care of your problems.
I think houses are magical in that they are dust magnets.
Also, honestly, y'all, having a cat, she's knocking stuff off of surfaces all the frickin' time.
/ digging up dust rhinos that have been hiding for who knows how long.
Yeah. They're vintage dust rhinos now.
Really, I hope you're not chewing on something that's going to be bad. But yeah, we make these little tasks so we work towards a goal that eventually works.
I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to keep a journal where you're just keeping track of your word count, and every time you have 100 words, you can color in the box.
I love Spence.
Yes.
But that's why you need to make small tasks that you can achieve and get that motivation, because you can then parlay that into doing bigger tasks that are harder to keep up the motivation towards.
I'll set a 15-minute timer to unload and reload the dishwasher. And my back will be hurting by the time I'm done. But if the 15 minutes goes off and the dishwasher's still not fully done, then I will have to wait another hour before I can go back and do another 15-minute. But when I can finally hear the dishwasher whooshing, oh, it's heady. I'll just literally sit in this chair and just quietly enjoy the whooshing of the dishwasher in the kitchen. Like, yeah, I did that. I did that.
If you don't want to be alone when you do it as well, there are Twitch streams for Pomodoros to get stuff done where you can enter in your task. It'll go on the list on the screen. And when you mark it as done, you get an emoji explosion.
Ooh, very nice.
And it gets crossed off. And the person streaming will be like, congratulations. And then you add the next task to the list. So sometimes those have been helpful for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, of body doubling is very helpful. And, it's not something to be poo-pooed of needing extrinsic help, especially extrinsic motivation and, validation from others. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just part of being human. We are social creatures. We like other people, or else you live in the woods alone. And that's
I
great.
literally live in the woods with Tom. This is
concrete jungle.
Love Maggie holding a printed copy of my drug of choice. But I also make my writerly lifetime as a reward for doing the morning and evening chores.
Very nice.
Yeah, they work off of each other. I mean, don't forget, as a creative person, some of those tasks include feeding yourself and self-care. Going to the doctor is part of being a creative person. My expenses on Friday, I finished a crochet project. I'd contemplated quitting more than once, and I danced like a a-hole at 3 a.m.
Very nice.
Yes, it is done and complete.
So quickly.
Yeah.
I know. That's why the light is back. The sun's back.
Those are some thick clouds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's when I talk about aligning goals. So you've got your 10-year goals that you want to achieve. Wouldn't it be great? And then you break them down into what's the stuff I need to achieve to reach that place. And then, all right, what are the actual tasks to, do each of those? And you're happy. You should be happy every time you do each of those tasks because they are all working towards.
Well, not everybody feels happy all the time, Tom.
No, but I'm saying but you should be able to appreciate the effort.
Well, appreciating the effort is different from happiness. It just is. Like giving yourself a moment to enjoy the sense of accomplishment. But, we don't always feel the emotions that we want to feel. And that's okay.
I guess what I'm really getting at is you always need to be giving yourself a lot of times a day for positive emotions.
So way back when I was trying to bring order to the chaos that, frankly, was my then marriage. Anytime I needed to feel a sense of autonomy, agency in my life, because I definitely did not feel it in my life, I would do that 21 pickup or that 5-minute hotspot just so that while the world felt chaotic and I definitely was married to someone who no longer wanted to be married to me or anyone, maybe. I don't know. I didn't have any control over any of those things. I didn't have control over the outside world or any of it. I had control over the hotspots and the 21 pickup and those kind of things. And the 15-minute, Fly Lady used to say a lot of you could do anything for 15 minutes except wine. And that's what I would do in order to get that sense of agency and autonomy. Little did I understand that if anything, that was driving my then husband away. But I am not sad about that. Ha ha ha. If that's what drives you away, so long, sucker. But nevertheless, it's something to consider of, do you feel like you're in control of your future? Do you feel like you have agency, or do you feel like a little ship tossed and turned by, the whims of an unfeeling world?
And that's really what goals are about. Giving yourself agency. Because if you're a angry little person, it's probably because you don't feel you have any agency.
Who
You
was
want to know the
South
people
Pole
who,
elf.
yes. Versus the most cheerful, positive people you'll ever meet are those who simply feel that they have agency over their life.
Yeah.
Even if from the outside, it's like, that life sucks. It's like, but it's the life they are choosing every day, every moment to work on. So they're happy with it. They are very positive about their life because they have agency. And that is why most people now are very upset, is because they're constantly getting their agency removed and they don't have the expression for it of what it is that's so upsetting to them. And it's because they don't feel they have any control. Goals give you control. Tasks give you control and agency and effect. And that's the reason why you have to have goals. It's for your sanity.
Yeah.
Goals will actually increase your sanity.
Like, I'm not going to benefit from Laura having goals. But I want Laura to be happy, so I'm going to encourage her goals. I'm going to cheer her on. Also, quite honestly, I enjoy cheering Laura on. Like, it's like a side hobby now, and I enjoy it. And, like, I enjoy cheering everybody in the chat on. It's my favorite little side hobby. Y'all are, like, my favorite sport. You know how other people, they watch hockey or football? My thing is to keep track of everybody's wins and successes and little achievements and big achievements. And then go, yay. I love doing that. Yay. I love it. It makes me happy to do that because it's meaningful versus just cheering on, say, an NFL team. They don't know or care that I exist.
But I mean, Laura
But y'all do.
and Nia and Spence and Maggie all love hearing the feedback, and that there's people out there who, truly are enjoying what they're doing.
And y'all cheer us on too. Like, I see where you click the little heart thing on the Substack. I see when it happens. I appreciate it.
And yes, and Maggie, yes, there is actually, a sort of ending coming to, that's the another universe, different universe story. That first arc that's coming out at some point. I don't know when.
I think Saturday. It's coming out this Saturday.
Because I lost track with everything else going on at the time that I hadn't actually
finished it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, ADHD.
Yeah, Maggie, I too had been waiting for him to finish it. Like what, 2 years now? Yes.
Yeah. This is, a common problem.
Hi, and welcome to ADHD. We all live here.
Guess what?
Chicken butt.
All the chicken butts. So I won a giveaway on a YouTube video they went to StokerCon, so a horror writing convention. And they had an extra convention-specific anthology. Mm-hmm. And so I won the extra anthology. And so she's sending it to me. And so I sent her my email, which is my author email. And she was like, hey, are you in the Horror Writers Association? I was like, no, I don't think I qualify. I qualify now at the writer level.
Nice. It is great.
Yeah. It is fantastic. Yes. Yeah. Maggie says sharing stories means more to me than the famous afterlife. Yes.
So I will be submitting my application once I have enough money to pay the dues in August, because I had to pay rent on this check.
Yeah.
Very important.
Very important.
Another thing, though, I did want to say, since Spence kind of brings it up, about self-efficacy, and just also be able to roll with welcome to the world, things change. They do not always go as planned. So like after, Friday, she finished making the crochet project. And then Saturday, she was like, I'm going to wash all the dishes. And instead made about 8% of a dress. And then Sunday did all the dishes. That's still great. Look, still got everything done. It was not in the order you originally planned, but it was eventually done. So bravo and wonderful. And as she points out, which made cooking today so smooth.
Very nice. Nia says, congrats on qualifying, Laura.
Thank you.
And that is another part of really achieving goals and anything is it is so much easier and possible if you can find any community that's going to cheer you on and want you to work towards those goals. So they are also going to encourage you to stick with those goals and the tasks that do them. And they're then understanding when you cannot, where, your plans may conflict with theirs because you are working on tasks towards your goals. Like that is definitely one of the signs of what kind of friends do you have and for what reason are they friends with you? Is if you are working towards your goal, are they encouraging and positive about that, or are they negative because it is taking away from your time with them?
Or do they just never ask about your goals, and when you mention them, they're like, okay, and they just let it get like, killed by faint praise is a real thing.
Because you want, and it is so much better when you find a community that supports you and just likes your success. And including like the ones like if your goal is working on organizing the chaos of your home, that they are, instead of being judgmental of, well, I can't believe you let your house get so chaotic and messy. Like just instead they're like, that's great. And then they want to know more of like, so how are you going to achieve it? What are you working towards? How are you going to, end up with the goal?
I think
Your friends help you find a hairdresser that will help unmat your hair because you've been so depressed.
Yeah.
Not judge you for getting that way.
Yep. Curly hair problems are real.
Seriously.
People don't understand the struggle. They really, straight hair people do not know. But like it was a big, difficult, challenging lesson of my entire 20s to learn that people who do not cheer on every win I have, no matter how seemingly insignificant it is, are not worth my investment. Hi, Noah.
Welcome to avoidant attachment style.
Which is
hard.
But I have avoidant attachment style. And I still am here to cheer on everybody's little successes. Of if you put in the effort, it's worth the cheering. Also, quite honestly, y'all, cheering, especially cheering others, is free. It costs me nothing to cheer people. It costs you nothing to cheer me. So why
send you a fireworks gift no matter what?
But again, like, so if I'm sharing with you some achievement, like I finally brought order to the chaos I call kitchen. And it took me, 6 months to do it, of like just constantly getting back in there every day or nearly every day, feeling a little bit like this is never going to end, but I'm going to keep trying. And even though when I finally finish and the kitchen does not look that nice because it's ancient and I didn't have a roof for 9 months, that still I would like to be cheered, even though, there's a big bubble in my countertop. I can't afford to change it. I could not afford to renovate the kitchen, but look, it's clean. Okay. Like it's clean. It's really clean.
Oh, speaking of the kitchen, you do have something to be cheered on about, Glory.
What?
You did, after many, many months this year finally achieve getting everything ready for Friday night dinner before you started Friday night dinner.
It only took nearly a year of doing this almost every single Friday for a year. But yes, I achieved it before sundown.
Of like bravo, like you did, but you did manage to achieve it. You know, you did a lot of getting close and really close, and occasionally like, oh, Tom, you're gonna have to take over.
Yeah, like yeah.
And there's nothing, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Welcome to life. And it's like
in June, the end of June, I was like, Tom comes home, and I'm like, my dude, I am suffering. I am not okay. I don't have anything done. It's like some was done, but I don't have. It's not gonna. At this point, we'll be lucky to have dinner before 10 p.m. And Tom's like, okay, what do you need me to do? And I was like, start chopping this, and I can get this started. And it was like just because I'd had so much pain in the past week, and I was slow moving, and it was difficult. It was really painful to bend over because of bladder spasms. So every time I did bend over to pick up something I dropped on the floor, I would then have a 20-minute coughing fit from the pain. And yeah, that stuff slows you down. So I wasn't hating on myself, but it was still really frustrating of, I can't even make dinner. And like literally a month later, 4 weeks later, to finally be able to have the entire meal, and I was able to change clothes and be clean and brush teeth and deodorant and everything before sunset. First time in a year of trying this, so that I could enjoy our dinner together.
Very nice.
But yeah, I mean, if you have ADHD and chronic illness, shit's going to take you longer. It just is. And it doesn't mean anything negative about you. And you have to remember that, because we all are going to feel like kind of what's the point, what's defeated, you know, from time to time of like, what am I doing? Why do I keep trying when I don't achieve? And the answer is because we got the hard setting. We have the advanced setting.
Yeah.
None of us chose it, but here we are. Persistence. I don't know what to tell y'all. That is it. Persistence is the biggest indicator of future success. That is the one trait that if you want to succeed in life at anything, let alone your goals, you have to cultivate this trait, this personality trait of persistence.
And also being able to look at it's another part of why you want to write down all of your little achievements of these tasks, because you can then look back, because memory lies. Memory condenses things, memory misconstrues things, and it's easy to think you were doing better than you were previously. And so you can see what is really achievable. How much time did you actually spend every day for several months working towards this goal, you know, versus what you thought you did? And to then go, okay, so here's how much time I actually had to spend on it. Maybe I have to stretch out how long I think this goal is going to take.
I find for me personally, in order to not kind of talk myself out of continuing to pursue a big goal, I have to take away the time length expectation. Like I have to not say, oh, I am going to achieve this goal within a set amount of time. Because for me, I know that part of my personality is I am an impatient person. And so I am going to need to not look at the clock, so to speak, on this time, on how long it's taking me to achieve a bigger goal. Like being able to get Friday night dinner all done and ready before sunset.
Well, I did now really understand, though, the reason for the invention of bar cookies.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to not be too strict with yourself. It's a goal, it's not set in stone. It's just you are giving yourself agency though to work towards something you will be happy you spent the energy on.
I mean, the truth is, like with the video store, so when I initially figured out what is the goal for the entire store to be solvent and me to make just regular minimum wage, we had to do 1,200 rentals of new movies each month. It took 4.5 years to get to that goal. I thought it was only going to take like maybe 2 years. It took 4.5 years to get to 1 month where we had more than 1,200 new movie rentals in the same month. It took way longer. And like that is something that I really think is not discussed enough. Of this is not a symptom of having ADHD. Neurotypical people are also not necessarily any better at accurately gauging how long it will take to reach a goal, particularly a large goal. Do you know how many business people told me that I should close my business because after 2 years, the business still wasn't solvent? And I'm like, well, how long did it take your business to get solvent? And the answer is like 6 years. And I'm like, why are you trying to talk me out of this? You're talking out of your behind. So I'm not saying like you all need to stop putting time limits on your goals because I don't know you. And what you need may be different than what I need. But for what I need, I can't put, oh, I'm good. This is my 5 years. If I don't achieve it in 5 years, I'm going to drop it and try something else. And the reason why is because I cannot anticipate my chronic illness and ADHD, especially when they combine together. Oh, these two are powerful when they're together. So it's like this, like sort of chaos void of like, well, but what with the chronic pain and the ADHD together, what'll it be? Yeah. So for me personally, I don't put time attachments to my big goals. I put time attachments to my teeny tiny baby step goals, like 5 minutes. You can only work on this vacuuming for 5 minutes. You can only, you've got 10 minutes to find a top, a bottom, underwear, and socks, and, maybe if you need a bra. There's 10 minutes. The timer's off, but no time goals on big stuff because there's too many possibilities, too many unknowns that I can't anticipate. And I'll feel discouraged if I know that there's this time limit. Oh, but I only have 5 years, or I only have 10 years, or whatever. Versus if I don't give a time thing, it's just, no, that is the horizon. And I'm going to keep walking toward that. And it's just going to take me however long it takes me. And that is okay. That is what I have learned I need in order to achieve my goals. And I only bring that up to suggest to others of if what I am saying kind of rings true for you, perhaps give yourself permission to not strictly follow long-term time goals, only super short-term, like things you can literally do today only. Just 5 minutes, just 10 minutes, maybe just 15, and that's it. And see how that works, because discouragement is a very powerful thing in our world. But whenever somebody gives up on a goal that wasn't necessarily like a bad goal, it's taking longer than they anticipated, it makes me feel sad of like, but we're missing out on this person realizing their goal, their dream, that was a cool one. That would have helped all of us. Having this person do this thing they love enthusiastically, we could have all like appreciated that and enjoyed the products of whatever that goal was. And if they give up on it when there was nothing actually flawed about the goal, it's just taking longer than they anticipated, we're all also missing out on that.
Just because your one novel is taking longer than expected doesn't mean you should give up on writing altogether.
Mm-hmm. Or even that novel, although I think you can like feel deep within yourself of like, okay, maybe I need to like put this on a shelf for a little bit because I don't have the skills yet to finish this, but that doesn't mean I'm saying no forever. It just means I'm saying right now is not the best time. I need to pick up more skills. And in the meantime, I can write a story. I do know how to write. Get that out, because let us never underestimate the power of an author's back catalog.
And it's
My
all right.
sci-fi has been for years while I beefed up my skills a bit more. And
Yeah, there's
I
nothing wrong
finally
if you-
think I'm getting there where I could tackle my sci-fi again.
Yeah, that you keep changing your the stories you're working on. Of like, okay,
Oh yeah, some of y'all know some of mine. Of like, I'm all over the place.
all right. I think it is time for another breaky break.
What do we talk about, Tom? When we come back, any ideas?
I'll figure it out.
Okay, he'll figure it out, y'all. It's a surprise to everyone, including Tom. Before we go there, Maggie says, giving ourselves permission to delay should be encouraged, not shamed. Thank you. Exactly. Thank you, y'all. We will see y'all in just a few minutes. What a wonderful time to make sure you've checked in with your bladder, that you've had something to drink, maybe a snack, or just you've taken 10 minutes to just unpeople for a moment. We'll see y'all in a few. Meepity beep. Mibbity bibbity bibbity beep. Mibbity boop. Mibbity bip. Bibbity beep. Well, here we are once again. Roy demanded to be walked, so that is what Laura is off doing. Tom is in the Tronverse.
I'm in the 80s. I'm in the Transformers and Mask verse. They're the ones who really use this one.
Okay.
So I figured for this last hour, now that you've made your goals, you're working towards tasks on them, it's time for, depending on your point of view, one of the most important forgotten parts of goal and planning and agency and all that, reassessment and improvisation and trying new things. So, and one of the things that, I was thinking of that this reminded me of was, so Gloria was talking about the video store, and it was 4.5 years till we got to that video rental level up to that. But the store was actually paying for itself and solvent before that. How did that happen then? If we're like, but I can't do it on this, and it's because, like the creative people we are, we started coming up with other ideas to make it solvent, and bring in customers and increase customer activity. And the ways that worked was, one, every quarter we would come together and all talk about what had been working, what hadn't been working. And then we sort of invented this game of the, what's your idea to try and see, and essentially what's an experiment we can do on the customers to see if it increases or decreases.
All right. So this is, I love you, Tom, but I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
So we'd have a staff meeting once a quarter, approximately once a quarter. And everybody had to put in an idea. It did not matter. They just had to submit an idea. Most people just wrote theirs on paper. But you could give it orally, and then one person would write it down. Whoever was like secretary for the meeting would just write it down. And then we would put them up on the board, and we would vote and on which one was the best idea and which one was the worst idea. And then those would be the two ideas we would actually try for the next quarter. And so one of our most successful ideas that came out of these meetings was the talking about the back catalog, 5 movies, $5, 5 days. And that was actually considered one of the worst ideas. That was the first worst idea we ever adopted.
Because previously you could only rent movies for 2 days. So
2 days for $1.
So we will decrease our
maybe
availability.
Maybe $1.25? Was it $1?
I think it started at $1 and then was $1.25.
Right, but we kept the 5 movies, $5 for a day. So it's just back catalog. It's not new movies, and it's not back room, adult movies. It's just the back catalog front room movies.
So they'll now be gone 2.5 times as long. We will be making less than half as much from each of these rentals. This, it will decrease essentially our effective stock, just the total volume of stock we have. Yeah. By doing this seems like a bad idea. But
the person who submitted the idea was inspired by the then very new one-time only Subway $5 footlong promotion. The very first time it went out, which was 2002, 2003, something in there. And so that is where the 555 came from. And originally it was 5 movies for $5, period, and just for 2 days. And I said, nobody can watch. Most people are not going to be able to watch 5 movies in 2 days. You'll have to leave your house at some point. And so that was where we're like, fine, we'll do it for 5 days. And it was voted on as the worst idea, which meant we would try it out. I can't remember what was the best idea for that one, for that quarter. Like, because this has been like nearly 20
I
years.
think that's where we started. The new rentals also got a popcorn or something.
Oh, that's right. With a new movie, you got a free popcorn or soda.
Yeah.
So that was voted on as the worst idea, and so we would adopt it for the next quarter. And yeah, because it was believed that everyone believed it was the worst idea that anyone had put forth that quarter because it was going to reduce our stock. We didn't have a lot of back catalog movies. We felt like we only had a couple hundred back catalog movies, and they're going to be out extra long, and it's going to cut into the amount of money people would be spending. Like, because like a new movie was like $275 for two, so like that's the equivalent of two new movies. Like, it's going to cut into people spending money there. And the first month it did. The first month, our overall rental income took a nosedive. However, by the third month, because we did it for a whole quarter, by the third month, it had increased our overall rental income, I think, by almost 40%. It was not quite. It was like, say, 36 or 38%.
Yeah.
Just for that month. But it had increased the overall rental spending by about a third.
And it actually ended up paying for itself for the months that it had decreased.
Yeah, it even paid for the first month where we'd had a dip. So that one turned out to be very successful. And so after that, every quarter, everybody put in ideas and voted for which one they thought was the best and worst, because those are the two we would adopt. And literally sometimes for the meeting, we just everybody would hold up pieces of paper, and we would just informally vote which one is the worst idea that everybody's holding up. And like, it was numbered, and then we would do then the best and the worst. And also during the meeting, we'd have to agree on how long we're going to try this idea. Because one of the things over time we learned is that 1 week is definitely not enough time to actually figure out the efficacy of any of these promotions. And that 1 month is better, but honestly, 3 months will give us the clearest picture. So in theory, people tried not to submit an idea that wasn't sustainable for multiple months.
Yeah. That was one thing we learned. Like, essentially, it takes a minimum of 6 weeks for our customers to notice things and try it.
Yeah.
Anything less than that. And the way we figured that out was with standees. Of like, we wondered, how long does it take for our customers to notice a change in the store? Because that'll inform how long we need to do something before we can see an effect on our customers. And so we did that by, Glory liked, our mother liked going to garage sales. Glory and her husband at the time would go to sci-fi conventions and other things. And so, we just find really weird things like you think would stand out. Let's see how long it takes people to notice. And I think my favorite one was Luke Skywalker standee?
Luke Skywalker, yeah, that we got at a garage sale.
I mean, it was life size, cut out, really good looking. Yeah. And we left that in the store. The store was essentially just 2 lanes with a little divider in the center of movies as well. And it was just one person wide on each side. Like,
yeah,
it was a small place.
It was a teeny place.
And Luke Skywalker was at the front of the 2 lanes of movies.
You had to walk by him no matter which way you went to get a movie. In order to then come to the clerk station to check out, you had to walk by him twice. You had to walk by him once.
And when you walked in the door, you would literally see him on your eye line.
He would be facing the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's facing you when you open the door. And it would take people upwards of 6 weeks. And then the crazy thing would be like they'd come in each week for 6 weeks, and they finally notice him and they jump back like he's a person who's been standing there. And they're like, how long has that been there? And it's like, 2 months. And we would then start, we tried this again by moving him to another location and waiting. How long did it take? And like literally we'd have a little piece of paper with the date of when Luke was moved. And everybody, when they'd hear or anybody asked how long has Luke been here or whatever, or, anytime people commented on Luke, you'd put a little hash mark down. And we would then judge every couple months of like, how long till we get to say 20 or 40 different people noticing Luke's presence and commenting on it.
And then we also got a few other little things. Like we also got a one of this platform 9 3/4 for the first Harry Potter movie one.
Yeah.
As well as a Hedwig in Harry Potter ceiling thing. And we had a few of those. And we would put them around the store and see how long till people even noticed and commented. Because they were very large, obvious things of the time that people were talking about anyway. And that's how
it was traditional back then in movie theater and video store culture that once a store or movie theater was done with that standee or poster or what have you, you could have it for free or for a nominal fee, but it was like first name or whatever on the item. So first you'd have to notice it to then say, hey, could I be in the, running or the drawing to get that free item or get that item for $10 or whatever, there were different rules about, so like if we paid for the poster, we could charge for the poster, but if the poster was given to us for free, we could not charge to give that poster away. So these were the rules from the studios. And so like sometimes we would have drawings, like little lotteries to see who'd get the free poster or free standee or whatever buttons, something. And sometimes there were so few people asking that it was just like, yeah, you're the only name on here, you're going to get it. Yes, back in the time for poster chats. So, and we would wait to see how long it took for people to notice various promotional materials. And it would take people weeks. So that was how we figured out how long we needed to wait, like how long we needed to run the same promotion for people to start noticing it exists.
And yeah,
to then judge, is this a good promotion or not?
And so that's why, and I bring up all of that to say that, so all of the little tasks you come up with to work towards your goal, and probably quarterly is probably still a good one, just because it's kind of how humans tend to think and move on about a 90-day time scale of about every quarter, to just look at what you've been doing, seeing how effective it's been, seeing if you're still enjoying doing it after several months, and looking for, are there new ways you could approach this? Are there new ways to gamify it? Are there new tasks you think might be a better way to spend time or might accomplish more at once? But just, once you got your goal, it's then, well, what are the things I can do to work towards it? And make sure like you keep changing it up and thinking about it. But give it time of, don't just go, oh, I don't like this after a week, I'm never going to do it.
So one of the things I learned in the education program, for it to be a good lesson plan, you need to measure the effect. And that you have to figure out a way to measure it. You can't just go, oh, the children, the learners will have an 80% grasp of the, not like, how will you measure? How will you know it's 80% and not 90 or 50%? How will you measure? You need to test them or quiz them, or they're, how many complete the task, whatever. You have to measure something. And that was part of what we did at the video store with these promotions, is they had to be measurable. And we would set out in that staff meeting, how will we measure it? Will it be by rentals? Will it be by total sales? or total rental gross income? Will it be by how many times people comment on Luke? How will we measure the success or failure of this promotion? And like, will it be by how many bottles of lube we sell in the back?
How many
What
phone
will it be?
calls we get about this product?
Whatever it is. And I would posit that even with your smaller goals, how will you measure this? And again, we, as human beings, we only measure what we value. So what are you valuing? Is it word count? Is it submissions? Is it satisfaction? Like, maybe you're merely writing for your mental health. You're trying to write yourself stories so that you feel better, because you notice you tend to feel better when you write regularly. Okay, does that mean you will fill out a short little survey each day or each week that you write and see how you feel, and then add that up, tally that at the end of the quarter or whatever? How will you measure to know that you have met your short or long-term goals? So one of the things I did when I was trying to, quote unquote, bring order to the chaos that was my home many years ago, was I literally kept a journal kind of goals list where I had a hash mark for every one of these bags of 21 pickup. And I also kept track. I had on another piece of paper. So anytime like when you're decluttering, right? There's things that go into trash because it's just garbage. And there's things you give away, right? Donations. And if I was going to donate it, I weighed it first. And if I couldn't weigh it with the scale, like literally I would get on, look at my weight, and then get off, get the bag of, items I was donating, and then get back on and subtract the difference, right? And I would note the amount of pounds. And I kept track of that for a year. Y'all. 1 year, in this 1 year that I was decluttering, and this was pretty much my hobby, was if I was home and not working, then I was decluttering. That was literally what I was doing. So like if I was watching movies, I was decluttering at the same time. This was like my major hobby. And in 1 year, I donated enough that was the equivalent of 23 young women's weights.
She donated an entire sorority.
I donated an entire sorority of things that were unwanted by us, but were still in good condition and could be benefited to other people. And I kept track of that because I was actually just mostly kind of curious. And also, anytime I'm like, I donated 40 pounds of stuff this week, I would feel a sense of accomplishment, right? But I was keeping track of how much total weight that was. And I was kind of fascinated in like how much weight physical weight I was removing from the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kept track. Every week I would take stuff to charity. And before I would put it in my car, I would weigh it all. And if I couldn't weigh it, like one time it was a couch. One time we literally had Tom and my then husband lift it up and estimate approximately how much they thought it weighed. And then the two of them got the bright idea. They were going to load it in my then husband's truck, and they were going to take it by the hospital because they have a loading dock scale that they are known to weigh patients on. And they were just going to see if they'd let them weigh the couch. And the guys at the loading dock were like, sure, why not? So they weighed the couch. And then my then husband calls me on the way to the charity to donate this couch because it was a very sturdy couch. It was made with hardwood. The frame was hardwood. It was heavy and it had steel springs inside. It was not lightweight. And like told me it was like, what was it? It wasn't quite 1,000 pounds. I think like y'all had weighed it separate from the mattress because it had a fold out bed inside. And the mattress and stuff actually pushed it over 1,100 pounds when I actually added it all up together. It was still very impressive. And I mean, I counted all of that. I'm like, all of this counts. Because that was no longer in the house. We measure what we value. I needed some way to denote that I was giving to others things that I could not use usefully anymore. And it felt tedious to count how many shirts and pants and underwear, or not underwear, but socks and things. It felt tedious to keep track of that because it was like, I'm just like sort of going through, I wasn't like, this precious sweater. So instead I was weighing it by pounds in order to feel a sense of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever way you're doing it is valid, whether maybe you're keeping track of time, you're keeping track of word count, you're keeping track of submission, whatever it is, it's valid. But think about that, to keep track and to measure. I tend to measure how long each room takes me to clean. If it's too long, I look for solutions to make it take less time. That's very smart. Rearrange room, storage, or declutter. One of those always fixes it. Yep, very nice. So that is like the light bulb moment for me, was not just to have goals, but to measure something as you are trying to progress on your goals.
Yeah.
Because if we don't measure, how will we see the passage of effort? Like, we're like, oh, well, I know my effort, but you don't, because human memory is kind of wild, and we really only keep an active memory of about 6 weeks, and then things start fading. But if you're only measuring things in a quarter, that's 12 weeks, 12 to 13 weeks, really. So again, I bring you back to this idea of, ask yourself, how will you measure? Meals you've prepared? Oh, I fed myself all these dinners, Whatever it is, it's valid, but try that. And maybe just let your mind wander, meditate on this. Eva says, I can control how much time I do something even when I can't control the outcome. Exactly. So that is what I would like to share, is not just making reasonable sub goals, but also, before you get started, figuring out how you will measure it. You may get halfway through like a quarter and realize this is not a good form of measurement, and you're going to try a different way, and that is valid, because that's learning. But how will you measure things?
And like, to give you a sense of different ways to measure things can have very different mental impact. Let me give you a real simple and weird one that I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I know this is a truism for my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of delivery. I do a delivery to a lot of apartments around here, but they are not super tall apartments, so they rarely have elevators. So I'm going up a lot of stairs. And one of the things I have noticed about my own brain and the way it measures things is it measures by floors traveled, not by flights of stairs. So if I'm delivering to somebody on the 3rd floor, if I just take the stairs, my brain takes that as I did one set of stairs and I walked to their door. But if I go up the stairs, walk across the 2nd floor, I go up those stairs, and then go, even though it's the same distance, my brain says that took twice as much effort. Because each of those stairs is separate now.
Yeah.
And so that's where also this reassessment comes in, of just noticing, how does your brain work? And like, literally, if I take that 2nd floor and walk across it, and my brain will tell me you're more tired. I will actually feel more exhausted from this, even though externally measured, it's the same number of stairs, it's the same walking distance. There's no physical activity change. In my brain, it is twice the work. And I will get tired faster mentally because of that. So I changed, so I make sure, no, I always just walk up all the stairs I can and then walk the floor, or else, because I know it doesn't matter which floor it is, it counts, them separately. And it's for every task of it's how does your brain acknowledge it? So like, yeah, for Eva, her brain measures things by the amount of time as the major decider for effort, even though it could actually be like, how much is she sweating or not
Mhm.
to do this? And for her brain, it's just how much time was it? It doesn't actually care that it probably does not even really care as much about the physical exertion as it is the time it took to do that. And so that's where her goals will align more with how quickly can I do this? And that is the important factor. Versus for others like Glory, it is how much physical discomfort does it cause. So even if this method takes twice as long, literally, if it causes only a quarter of the pain and discomfort, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, like literally Friday night dinners where I was in a lot more pain feel so much more arduous because I'm experiencing so much longer time periods of pain and I keep getting interrupted by excessive pain. And so even though it's not necessarily any more effort, or it might even be that particular week less effort to do those dishes, to make those dishes, it still feels like more effort because there's more actual pain and I sweat from pain and I'll sweat so much more. And all of that is like part of how I mark the effort needed to produce this dish. And so, and also part of why I do that is so that I don't push myself so far that I injure myself. So even though that is not really how I want to measure the effort for these dishes, I do to keep me mindful because I have a tendency when I am experiencing pain to ignore the pain and then injure myself further. And this is something I've learned the hard way about myself over several decades. So it's like when I start feeling like the pain to the point where it makes me break out in a sweat, then it's like you have to go sit. You have to stop whatever you're doing right then and there, no matter how much time. And you have to go sit until the sweat goes away or the pain, either one. And this is how I force myself so that I don't overdo it and actually cause myself extra injury, because that's bad for me.
And they've done a lot of these psychology studies about this of they're never underestimate how important the mental effort and sense of accomplishment is to spending a long time on any given task. Like if you tell people, they do this with, like literally just paying people for time. And you can actually get people to do a lot more, paying them a lot less if they feel they are accomplishing more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you tell them there is no point to this, that it is just them, staying here flipping pages over, and there's no point to it, most people can't last an hour even doing this. But if
We
you
have
tell
to
them,
feel like our effort has purpose.
if you tell them instead flip pages as fast as you can, but scan for this name, and the name is not in this book at all, they will be ready to they will finish that book and be ready for the next for hours and multiple days to do this because they have a task they're working on. There is purpose to this. They have agency.
Right.
And so that's again, we're like, yeah, there's multiple ways to do any task. Find the one that works for you, that you are, you stay positive and motivated to do. Because that's the important part. Is it's not what's the task and how efficient it is. It's what's the task you will keep coming back till it reaches that goal.
Like, I have met some people that they can do a task forever if they think that it will benefit their children in the future, growing up strong and educated or having a future, whatever. But like, if they can see how this will benefit their children, whether it's they're earning money to pay rent so their child has a safe place to sleep every night, or that they're getting a degree so they can have a better job so they can better take care of their children and be able to have a job with better benefits so they could take time off to go see their children, like, kid things, graduations and stuff. Whatever it is, If they can see how, for instance, it benefits their child in some way, they can do it forever. The most mindless, menial, terrible task in outside, in the heat, in the cold, it doesn't matter. They can put up with it because they can see how it's beneficial to their family. Versus other people, that is not a strong enough motivator. And for them, maybe they need to see that it has purpose for themselves, for their like long-term goals or something of that nature. Or maybe it's just that they think that what they're doing could benefit the world in some way. It depends on each person. Valid reasons. Everybody, you do have to do a little soul searching. I'm going to be honest. In order to have good goals, you're going to need to do a little bit of soul searching and get to know yourself. There's not really much of a way around this. And I have told some neurotypical people that did not like to hear that. But it's like, the reason why you have to do a little soul searching is, what do you value? That what you value is not necessarily what I value or what the guy next door values. Like it may be in a general sense, maybe it's similar, but in a specific sense, it may be somewhat different. Some people value, say, professional recognition, and they want to be seen as a good example of that profession, and maybe in part to impress their family or so that their children have role models. I've heard those kind of statements before, but to other people, that doesn't matter at all. To be recognized as like, some recognized professionally, like they're like, what do my kids care? I'm a physicist. That means nothing to them. Like, and so again, that is not what they value. What they value is that they are influencing government policy about physics or something. I don't know. That's what they cared about, because they wanted to help influence the world to be a better, safer place for
Or
their
in our
family.
grandmother's case, it was that there's less ignorant people in this world.
She really did not like ignorant people.
Especially willfully ignorant people.
So, figuring out what is valuable to you and what is to you a good use of your effort. So, worrying about what the neighbors think about the state of inside your house may be a weak motivator. But having your kids grow up in a clean house so that they don't develop asthma from all the dust and clutter, that may be a strong motivator, for instance. And that's what I'm trying to show, of figuring out what are strong motivators for you, and then tying your goals to your strong motivators. And then how do you measure your goals so you can stay motivated? Hi, and welcome to, I literally have a degree in this. This is literally what I got a degree in. And I want you all to benefit from all of my effort and all the times I cried in a dry bathtub that I wasn't going to get through it, and then I actually got through it. But that is how to have good goals. You're going to need to know what are your strong motivators. You're going to need to set dreams and then goals that are at least in the general direction of the dreams. And then little goals to get you to the big goals. And then how will you measure every step of these little goals?
Because to get to that long-term change, it starts with what you do every day. I mean, don't forget, and that's where you see these, Upworthy articles and these, amazing stories you hear about of, the guy that literally just spent 20 years chopping his way through a mountain so his village would have a direct path to the city, so no one else would, die from lack of health care like it happened in his family. So he just spent every day as his hobby whacking away at this mountain to make a large, path that, you could drive through. Or families who plant entire forests because they just want to be surrounded by wildlife, and there were no trees around, so yeah, the wildlife wasn't there. 20 years later, you see an entire forest of so many acres that they let grow. It's just what your goals inform what you do every day, and what you do every day informs how you feel about yourself.
So, Maggie, one of the ways to combat tediousness is to make smaller goals. In part because the smaller the goal, the more you're going to achieve it, get that dopamine, maybe even a little serotonin, and go on to the next one. So you have to keep making the steps smaller and smaller and smaller, having like having it again and again until it is so small, it is just one activity that you can check off. I did that. I did the thing. Now you may have to do that one activity again and again and again, like 1 each day, 2 each day. But again, that is one of the ways to combat tedium. Hence why to clean up all of a cluttered room is like an insurmountable task. It's just too huge. But to say just put away 21 items that do not belong in that room into the rooms they belong, not even putting them away in the rooms they belong, just putting them in the room so they are not in the place they don't belong. That is a little step you can actually do. And then you can feel that achievement of, I have done that 5 times today, okay? I am working toward the goals. It's a big goal. Maggie says, I get no dopamine from marketing. I can't even make a single image for a promo right now. I have been stalling for 2 weeks by doing everything else. Tom, what you got?
So the most important parts of marketing that you need to figure out that will then set your goals is, who is the market? Where are they located? And what is so great about your product that they want? So for book marketing, it's, what type of readers would read that? Where would I normally find them? So that's the approach you're going to be like, is it on Instagram? Is it on Notes? Is it in Reddit? Is it on
Threads?
YouTube?
Threads.
Is it on Threads? And then it's like, all right, what is so interesting about this, I think, for that market? And so in this case, for a book, it's, what are the interesting concepts? What are the pull quotes? What have people remarked to you about this story that stands out to them? And that is the stuff you then feed into image generators to see what it comes up with. Like, go on Canva and try their text to image and try different styles and just see, like, because for one of yours, I think it was the remnants of time, maybe, but I'm just thinking of, crossbows and triceratops. What would an AI art thing come up with to kind of get you inspired about those images? All right. So for the cat lady, so for the crazy cat lady apocalypse, what are the interesting weird ones? And that would be like Mad Max versus cat lady camper. Going cross country during a zombie apocalypse, of like, put these little phrases in to image generators and see what it shows you, and that will might give you some inspiration for images.
Also, keep in mind that perfectionism can definitely be an unnecessary barrier to goal achievement, even like baby step achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And so at a certain point, getting it done is the goal, not getting it perfect or just right or good even. Just being able to check it off and say, it is technically done. I have promoted it. Like, perfectionism can be an unnecessary barrier to baby step goal achievement. And we need to always be aware of that, particularly if we had overly critical mothers. I'm talking about mine, not talking about other people's mothers. I mean, technically, it's also Tam's mother. But again, to be aware that perfectionism is an illusion. Nothing's perfect.
So let's come up with a theoretical set of answers to this, and I'll give you my idea of how I would approach it. So it's the Crazy Cat Lady Apocalypse book. The market to me is usually, at least, tweens to 20-year-old women who like true crime, because they're the ones who feel like they have no agency, so they want to watch other people lose their agency and then overcome it because they are strong. And I think they are on YouTube. Okay, how would I then solve this conundrum? In the most, I have no energy, and if we're honest, I have no fucks to give about this because I hate this job. How do you do this job without having a lot of motivation? I'd go to like Canva or Midjourney or none of these art generators. Type in what I think are the most fascinating concepts in this book. So, cross-country road trip in a cat lady camper being followed by zombies on Mad Max vehicles. And see what it pops up. Probably run it 3 or 4 times, maybe change the phrasing a couple times to see what I can make some crazy monster mobiles. And take a few of these images, make a slideshow, put a pull quote once or twice in between these images, and go find some free music on YouTube that is not in copyright, and put that as the background music for it, and make a short for it, and make sure it's in vertical format, and post that up at different times. Maybe make 4 of these and see how it goes as shorts. And then maybe I later on post these same videos to Instagram, just because I've already made them, might as well. And see what the response is. Of like, that's how I would do that. Of like, all right, what are the answers to my questions, I think? And then what is the least amount of mental effort to create a product? And you're like, okay, but you didn't put much effort in, the product's not going to generate a lot. But I check off I did the marketing. Even if that one didn't work out well, I'll probably still notice some things. I will still learn how I phrase that, what created the interesting images, what few people did comment, what they noticed about what I made. And so you will get better every time, because if it exhausts you, you're not going to do it again. If it doesn't exhaust you, you can do it again. And so it's doing that. Because, the whole part of marketing is you're trying to get information about the existence of a product you think will make someone's life better who would enjoy this product. And it's, well, did this way work? If it did, I'm going to do it again. If it didn't, I'm going to try something else. Because I want people to have a better life. Like, essentially figure out a way to do it as an altruistic activity.
Yeah, how will they know about your story and the enjoyment they will experience reading it if you don't promote it? Like, that is the real purpose of promoting or advertising is to inform the kind of person who really could benefit or is looking for that item or that product or whatever it is. That was the original point of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And that is still how I view it, which may be a rather neurodivergent approach, but, fuck it. I'm just saying, just be like, hey, avid readers, I've got your thing here. And by the way, Maggie, you could use ChatGPT for pull quotes, right?
Okay. But yeah, it's just the whole point of tasks to achieve goals is what will not exhaust you about it. If it's exhausting, that's not a way to do this task. Find what you can do without a lot of creative effort even. Hence, use ChatGPT, use Bard, play around with different ones and see what it comes back with. Especially if you don't have a writing partner to kind of bounce ideas back with, use one of these generative AIs to see what it notices, because it's going to notice whatever is the most common concept in there, because it's programmed on the average.
I mean, Maggie, it is literally legit for you to post a pull quote and to start off your, social media with, hey, person I wrote this for, here you go. Don't say I didn't give you things. It has everything. And then you list 3 things. List 3 things your story has. Here's a pull quote. Don't say I didn't tell you. Just put that all over social media. It doesn't have to be amazing. It just has to check the box. There is no perfect. There is only just now. That's it. That's all there is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you might be surprised who this would appeal to. There are so many thirsty readers. So you're just trying to, hey, look, don't say I didn't inform you. I have a book. It has these 3 things in it, among other things. I know you want to read it. Here's the link. Bye. Who's to say that is not a good promotion? Who? No one.
I mean, because truly, to real marketing of a book is you are truly selling the sizzle, and it's figuring out what it is the sizzle about. And if you're having problems with that, it's come up with a couple different ones and then see what other people respond to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of marketing a book is just selling the sizzle. What do you think is the most fascinating part that will just pull a reader through the entire story? And so, racing across the country during the last great zombie apocalypse, as while the last remaining dregs of humanity show who are genuinely good and who are awful people, as you rush to get this information to the Navy on the other side of the U.S. Will they make it there in time with all the printed papers intact, or is it all going to burn up on the way?
Sounds like you're running a deficit of adrenaline as well as dopamine.
And that's again where you make up those little subtasks so that when you do have the energy, you can just do this little part and then set it aside and then pick it up later. Because if it requires too many steps to be able to set it aside, then you're never going to finish it.
Yeah, with honestly, Maggie sounds like burnout. And is this a healthy solution? I don't know what to tell you, but here's what I do when I'm dealing with burnout. And that is, I look at what is sustainable. What can I just do to minimally say I did it?
Mm.
How can I get to that? Because that is better than nothing. And so it's like literally, hey, I wrote a story. It's called this. Here's the link. And you just put that. You don't have to put a picture. You don't have to put pull quotes. You technically promoted it. And yeah, it's not maybe the best promotion in the world, but it technically qualifies. And that is all that matters. Often because, let's be honest, with social media, sometimes our friends will see it and they see like an opening where they know what to fill in and they can do like a quote tweet or whatever. So, yes, turn into an act of petty. The world is on fire and I wrote this frickin' story. Enjoy while, you read this while the world burns. I don't know, something.
Do you live the dog in the burning house meme? I've got the book for you. So yeah, it's like this is what we were talking about at the very beginning of you're going to have to accept
5 months of migraines like the equivalent of burnout. I'm pretty sure like pain is pain.
of the you're just going to have to accept what you are capable of right now.
Right? And what you're capable of is putting a link in a post and going, there, it's done. I write stuff. You'll have to click the link to find out.
And occasionally reposting the same post somewhere again. In case, a different group of people see it this time, a different time of day.
Mm-hmm.
Never be afraid of just go with the brain injury and just say you forgot and repeat the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people at this point have brain injury. We're understanding.
Yeah, pretty much. I technically did the thing. Happy now? Be sure to include a link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't look for the perfect. There is no perfect.
No.
There is effective.
Just say, I have brain damage. Here's a link. You need to click it and find out why. You can honestly write any chaotic thing, and there's going to be some people who are like, my interest is big now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, I'm posting random pictures of my living and dead pets with like pseudo-Buddhist sayings in there because it amuses me, okay? That's literally what I've been doing this week. And I keep getting more followers. It's weird. It's hilarious to me, though. I keep being curious to see how this goes next. Just be yourself. And yeah, every once in a while, when another chapter of Tom's story comes out, I'll like say, "Oh, here's Tom's story, y'all. Are you subscribed?" And that's it. I don't think anybody's clicking on the links. I don't think anybody's like doing anything. It doesn't matter because all that matters to me is that I said I did it and it's now done, and I can point to it, going, "See, I did it."
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing matters. It's the 21st century, and nothing I do, no effort matters. I cannot benefit from any of my effort, apparently. I am just here rearranging chairs on the sinking ship I call my life. But you know what? At least it's chairs I want to rearrange. Hence why Tom and I keep showing up to this thing every frickin' Monday. This is just me rearranging chairs on the sinking ship called the 21st century. But if you're going to rearrange chairs, you might as well rearrange the chairs you want to rearrange.
As Ben says, sit down one day and be like, I'm going to spend 30 minutes making however many of these posts I can, and then I'll just use them forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see how long till somebody says it is affecting their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
That is my real goal now, is how many times can I repost this before they start to question their own sanity? Answer, 10 times as many as you think.
I was about to say 10 times.
In our experience, it's been at least 10 times more than you think will drive someone nuts.
Yeah.
And if not, it's just the one time has already driven them nuts, just knowing it exists.
Yeah. Those people are fun to torment, though.
So yeah, there is all the secrets to making goals and accomplishing them.
If the goal is too big, like you can't accomplish it in any okay, now let me rephrase that. If a goal is something that you've made and you still feel no motivation to achieve, it means it is too big. Have it in half and then give it another week. If that goal is still not motivating you, have it and try again. If it is still not motivating you, is this goal actually aligning with your purpose? Because you do need to know your strong motivators. What is your purpose? Okay. But if it is aligned with your purpose, then it just means this goal, this like that you've had 3 times, have it again, and you keep having it till you have something that is actually of a size small enough that you can accomplish it. And so, yes, if it is my house is so cluttered and you are down to, okay, I have to wash 3 dishes today to say that I accomplished it, even though I dirtied 9. Then, but you can do the 3 and you did the 3, you did them really fast. That's a good goal. You could do, if you have the energy, you could do it a second time today, but you can't do it a third time today because you don't want to burn yourself out. You have to keep making the goals smaller and smaller and smaller until they are achievable for you. And this is a pill people don't want to swallow.
And you have to write it down because you will forget this task that you can do.
This is the tough cookie. I have had to give this talk to so many people who are essentially relatively new to chronic illness. And nobody ever thanks you for this, by the way. Nobody ever comes back and says, Glory, you really gave me the wake-up call I needed. But suddenly their life starts moving in the direction they wanted it again. So you're welcome. It has to be a small enough step that you can achieve it now in whatever state you are currently in, mentally and physically and emotionally, spiritually, whatever.
But apparently I said the right phrase for Spence.
Oh, good. I can't wait to find out.
Aren't we all?
Yes, I know. But this is the hard lesson I've learned. Look, I don't like giving this pill out. Again, because no one ever says thank you. But you need to hear it. If you are in paralysis and you're achieving nothing and you're miserable in your life, the problem is in part either you're not working towards your purpose. If you are working towards your purpose, you just feel like you're getting nowhere. The steps are too big and you need to make them smaller. And yes, that means some days the step is simply you got 1 load of laundry in the washing machine and you did not take it out of the washing machine. That's the goal for the next day. You know what? That is still worthwhile pursuit of your time and energy. This is the difficult pill. Swallow it. I know this. I have been dealing with chronic illness my entire freaking life. And I am here to tell you, this is it. If you are still not achieving it and your goals do align with your purpose in life, what you are strongly motivated to achieve, then the problem is that this is the troubleshooting, y'all. The problem is your steps are too big and you need to make baby steps. Just out of spite. Spite. It will keep us all going long after the adrenaline has worn off. Is you've got to make it smaller. If you are having a problem with motivation and you are getting enough sleep and you're eating your fruits and vegetables, then more than likely the issue is your steps are too big. I hope you will all remember this. And that anytime you sit down all defeated and you're like, why am I so freaking miserable? And I don't care about the world and I'm just burnt. What do I do? And then you hear my voice in the back telling you, do your goals align with your purpose? If so, are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating fruits and vegetables this week? If all of that is yes, then the answer is your steps are too big and you need baby steps. But Gloria, I am doing baby steps. They're not baby enough. You need like baby duckling steps, not baby human steps. You need tiny baby caterpillar steps. You got to have the steps you can achieve in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year. But if they are not achievable for you, it means those steps are too big. It would be unfair for a parent to take a baby who's just learning to walk, and you know how you put the baby holding like the couch or the coffee table, right? And then you take a couple steps back and you're like, come on, walk to me. Walk to me. Come on. Remember how you do that? Okay. But what if instead of that, you took the baby out to a park and you put their hand on like a park bench and you went across the park, and the park is like a quarter of a mile long, and you yelled at the baby, come to me. No baby can do that if they still haven't even learned to walk, let alone run. No baby can do that. That is unfair. And that is exactly what you have done to yourself. That is why this is the bitter pill. You've got to give yourself doable steps.
Eva does bring up the other part, though.
Sometimes we can't make ourselves focus on one set of goals that we feel pressure to perform / progress on because our priorities are just not there. That's because they're not aligning with your long-term purpose. Yeah, if these goals may not actually be your goals. They may just be what maybe your parents told you, someone else, society, pressure. They're not
society has a
aligning.
lot of bad goals in mind.
As I said, is this goal aligning with your purpose? If it is not, why are you doing it? It's worthless to you. I can't work toward the future of my children when I have no children. I have to work toward different goals. I cannot work toward the future generations when I have no generations. Or, oh, well, I do this to take care of my family when I have no family. You have to have goals that align with your purpose and your life. That's why you have to do a little bit of soul searching.
And that is a good way of notice of like what the effect is.
So humans can do a lot of things when we feel like it is like what we're supposed to be doing, when it's aligning with our goals and our purpose. Like even when you feel physical discomfort, you'll keep going because you know it's going to get you there. You know it's getting you that next step closer, and you want that, and you can put up with some momentary discomfort for your long-term goals. So if you're not experiencing that, it's because something is off track and you need to troubleshoot. And it is perfectly okay for you to realize that your purpose has changed. When my marriage ended, my purpose had to change because I was no longer working toward a mutual life retirement with this person. I had to change my goals, and it took a little while because I also had to go through the grieving process of saying goodbye. Oh, how many times did I play the Mika song? No more happy endings. So many. I think it was like we literally counted it one time and it was over 1,000 at that point, and it has been like 12 years since then. So
I know, but what would you have done without that wallowing pillow? That overstuffed, extra firm body pillow.
Well, it's right over there on the couch right now. Yes, my wallowing pillow. I have a wallowing pillow. Do you have a wallowing pillow? Everybody needs a wallowing pillow, y'all, because nobody needs to lay on the dirty floor. That's what the wallowing pillow is for. You lay on the wallowing pillow. But again, your life may change, and then your life's purpose may have to change accordingly. And that is still valid. And it can take a little time, and you do need to give yourself some time. You're going to be okay. Besides, you all have our email addresses now. We're not disappearing. We're here for you. Yes. I had a pretty strong purpose when Cassie was alive because I was living for her. I cannot believe dogs live such short lives. It is really unfair. Why is science not working on how to extend dog lives? Quality lives. Anyhow, Tom, do you have any final thoughts beyond what you've said?
No, I think we've actually...
You good?
Yeah.
I'm glad. Do you feel younger Tom would have a clue?
Yeah, I think between everything we've talked about in the last 3 hours, anyone should be able to have a good concept of how to set their goals in life and go forward and be happy with what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And not be like, the genie got me.
Right. Yeah, because like the troubleshooting, nobody explained to me. I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Really? That is cool and awesome, Eva, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we could help. Okay, so what to expect on next Monday's episode? The last episode of this season. Oh, we know you're excited. We know you're thrilled. It's going to be exercise. Woo woo! No, nobody's getting excited. Tom, where's your pitch?
Okay, so this one was in part inspired by Megan and my own experiences, and then also just, massage therapist. So like, how does that function, as well as, the videos I follow and stuff. And what I really found as I was trying to help Megan come up with some exercises for writers, and really it's most people nowadays, because it's people who sit down to do their jobs.
Yeah.
Is understanding what causes those pains we all have in our lives, what the solutions are, and essentially that the answer is, I joked about it, why kids bounce and adults break.
Mm-hmm.
And it is simply because adults are too efficient in our movement. So you think, I need to reach for something to get that object. What you don't think about is that the way kids reach for stuff with these huge movements and just a lot of extra movement may not be as efficient to reach the object, but it does lubricate all the joints. It gets all the muscles moving. It gets more nutrients through everything. And that's why they don't hurt. Yes.
You need the fluids moving.
And so I have spent the last several months coming up with simple exercises that anyone can do to help move all of these parts of the body in a kind of fun way, so we will all have less body pain.
Quick reminder that Tom is a national board certified massage therapist. He does have qualifications, and he did graduate at the top of his class.
And a lot of these are simple things. They're fun. You may feel a little silly doing them, but they're not without, outside the range of anybody's, for the most part, capability of movement. I've also I've got some modified versions for those who may have more limited range of motion at the time. I have watched a lot of professionals, because, thanks to YouTube, a lot of professionals actually put their own videos out as well, who are qualified to talk about it. I have actually found that the old adage that when you lose range of motion, that's it, it's gone, is not true. But there are some tricks you have to know to increase your range of motion. But you can be a lot more like a kid, where even if you stumble and fall, you might just, cause a small sprain and not need to go to the hospital because you broke something. And it's getting for all of your body to be able to move more and to stretch and to not be quite so stiff. And so that's really what I'm going to talk about next week. I think I've got like 10 or 12 exercises anyone can do
Oh, you actually got more than that because you've been like, you've got a bunch. Because also, I am adding the modifications in. I think the modifications are really important to know because if you do have, say, pain, then you need the modification, but you won't always necessarily have pain in that type of movement. But we all have times where we're hurting more, and so we need to know the modifications just in case.
And also, and so essentially, how you can start out small and move up to larger ranges of motion to help your body, because like some of the benefits are you will literally sleep better if your body is in less pain, and you can get your body into a lot less pain if it's caused by your physical musculoskeletal system by doing these simple movements every day. And it's, these are, 3 to 5
Honestly,
minutes.
you don't have to do them every day. You just whatever you remember a couple times a week.
But it only takes a few minutes. This is not I now have to set aside an hour every day.
Wow.
It's like, no.
No, our ADHD would not tolerate that.
No, to do the full range of everything might be 15 to 30 minutes to do everything at once, but really you can do half of them one day and do the other half the other day. And it's like, so it's like 15 minutes a day and you will sleep
I don't actually think
so
it
much
takes
better.
I don't think it necessarily even takes 15 minutes, truthfully.
Well, there's a bunch though you're not doing. That's what I was saying. Like to do all of these, to truly just make sure you have range of motion in everything, still doesn't take that much time, but it helps to know how to do it.
If you experience lower back pain or upper butt pain, however, it's so strange what in the English language we call various body parts. Yeah, there's exercises that Tom and I have gone over that actually help with that. If you experience pain while washing dishes, for instance, there's specific exercises to help with that.
If you want to knit or crochet more, but your arms get tired and tighten up, and you have to take entire days off to let your arms recover.
Well, like specifically these kind of muscles, but also if you're playing video games like with controllers, you may also be experiencing that kind of discomfort. So again, if you are experiencing discomfort or pain that everybody just tells you, oh, you're getting older, kid, there's exercises for it, and they're not difficult or painful or intensive because I'm not into intensive.
Or require special equipment or even large spaces to do.
No, none of that. We don't know.
Show up next week because I will be dressed silly and you'll get to see me do silly things.
Like we looked for, surely someone else has these and we could just send people links. And we could not find anybody going over these exercises. I originally found some of these exercises as a teenager reading magazines from the 1930s. And I have never since come across them. And, my ex-husband used to have a regular yearly subscription to Men's Health and GQ and all these things. And I never saw any of these exercises in that or Self or some of the other ones because he was always health obsessed.
Oh, yeah.
And I read through them because, look, I'm paying for it. I might as well read through them, right? I never saw any of these exercises listed. So I thought, they were just that they weren't effective. When I finally shared them with Tom, he's like, those are great exercises. Yeah, why isn't anybody teaching it? And he did research and couldn't find anybody teaching these either. These are so old. They're literally over 100-year-old exercises, and they actually work. They are very helpful, and they are great for people who are not necessarily biohacking their body or overly athletic or jocks. Everybody needs good range of movement.
But these are
not about getting old.
And a lot of these are also like the stuff Megan used to teach in her class for those
arthritis sufferers.
Yes, that's it.
But again, she couldn't find those exercises she taught. She couldn't find them anywhere online either. Seriously, the 21st century is wild, y'all. So we're going to go over them. So we hope you'll come and watch. Tom's going to demonstrate all the exercises, which is going to be super fun to watch. And again, If you're there for the live broadcast and you are trying them out and you're having any difficulty, we can troubleshoot it right then. But Tom's going to also go over modifications for all of these exercises. So we really hope you will join us for that. We look forward to seeing you. Good night, y'all.
Good night.